aside.
The First Lady-to-be told me she holds them for you.
Yes, she does. But not with, she and Kamala have become friends. Yeah. But all kidding aside, it's a matter of the thing, we are simpatico on our philosophy of government and simpatico on how we want to approach these issues that we're facing. And so I don't have, and when we disagree, it'll be just like, so far it's been just like when Barack and I did. It's in private. She'll say, I think we should do A, B, C, or D. And I'll say, I like A, don't like B and C. Mm-hmm. And it's go, okay. And like I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign. We don't have that. We haven't, and we discussed at length.
Mm-hmm. What? Yes, that is Joe Biden saying that if he has a disagreement with Kamala Harris, he will develop some disease and resign. You know, I always thought it was strange that Kamala was calling herself the president and the mainstream media was kind of going along with it, but now it absolutely makes sense, especially with metal clips inside of Joe Biden's head, literally holding back major aneurysms. I didn't know that until recently, by the way. Welcome back, beautiful, amazing human beings. This is Ukradowski of WeAreChange.org. A lot of important issues to talk about, especially those dirty Democrats and their love affair with Jeffrey Epstein and his island. We're going to be discussing that at length, especially after all the bombshells that were just revealed by a longtime Clinton confidant. There's also some updates regarding Ghislaine Maxwell and her prison stint. But before we get into that, plus a lot more, I do have to say Joe Biden's presidency is definitely shaping up to be something extremely interesting, especially with all of his latest declarations and announcements. One of the latest ones is, of course, that there will be a, quote, 100 days of masks, 100 days of covering that will supposedly stop the spread of the conholio sickness. Dr. Anthony Fauci said yes right on the spot to Joe Biden, offering him the position of his chief medical advisor. But most importantly, someone should tell Joe Biden that already most Americans have been wearing masks, and they haven't stopped doing so. This is according to the CDC data, and even the New York Times that confirmed that majority of people already wear masks. So this 100 days of covering is just absolutely more pathetic, hypocritical political jargon that's not going to do anything except use the threat of force by police officers with no moral backbone that will be enforcing this with the full might of the police state. Along with the promises of more masks, we also have promises of more lockdowns, which in Japan have already taken more lives than the actual conholio sickness. In Japan, more people have died from suicides last month than they did from the conholio sickness. While the rest of the third world is left on its own, especially after the supply chain breakdown and the disruption of the global economy because of these lockdowns, which is leading to more and more impoverished individuals to go hungry. And as food insecurity becomes more of a reality, as government officials literally tell farmers to destroy their food in the United States, this is something that even Foreign Affairs is calling a long-lasting effect of food insecurity, which is going to be with us for a long time. And with all this absolute backwards thinking and lunacy, at least we have the Mexican president bravely coming out just yesterday and admitting that these lockdowns are just tactics of dictators. And I would have to say I absolutely agree with him, since most American politicians have been acting as benevolent dictators that set up decrees that are not even codified by law, which they don't even follow themselves. Whether it's the maskless and clueless Comos, the dinner party enthusiast governor of California, or politicians literally going to weddings in other countries telling you to stay home, this kind of behavior is absolutely disgusting, and it's something that a dictator would do. Let's just be honest with ourselves here. As of course many of these plutocrat politicians are promising that everything will go back to normal, when of course we have a rushed experimental jab that we have never ever seen before in medical history. A jab that of course will come along of course with your own jab identification card that will be a part part of the track, trace, and database government Big Brother Orwellian society, put out by major pharma corporations like Pfizer that have literally almost paid out $5 billion in damages and fines since 2000, but now have no legal liability with this jab, which they're themselves saying they're not sure even if you take this jab, if you're going to be transmitting the virus. Yeah, statements like that, them not having any liability, definitely doesn't breed confidence in me and any rational thinking human being, as well as the fact that the United States has a very long history of biological weapons testing on the unsuspecting public. Yes, lots of innocent human beings in the United States were subjected to inhuman studies backed by the government, like the Tuskegee experiment, Agent Orange, Operation Sea Spray, the CIA LSD experiments, and many more, too many to even mention in this video. So yeah, that's a, tad bit of information that you should be made aware of, but you're not, since of course the real owners of this country don't want you to be educated and informed. But hey, that's why we're here as independent media, to at least get the thinking started and provide you a perspective that you normally wouldn't get on the mainstream media. And because we do that, we haven't really made friends with the YouTube organization. They demonetized us fully, but that provides us an opportunity to send you products that we believe, that we back, that we think might actually help you, like M Foods. So if you're looking for some real cacao, lion's mane, reishi mushrooms, chaga, and other natural herbs and supplements, check out M Foods. They recently just sent me all of them. I'm still in the process of taking as many of them as I can. I really like the cacao elixir, personally myself. They're a bunch of hippies from Hawaii. I like them. I think you will too. Check them out in the description below, since of course your purchases go towards supporting this independent media broadcast. Now, just jumping into the main topic, it definitely looks like old Billy Boy is back in trouble. Mr. I did not have relations with that woman. Looks like he got his willy stuck in the cookie jar once again, as we have more insurmountable accusations against him by a former aide of his, Doug Band, that recently provided Vanity Fair with an extremely eye-opening interview, which many people are calling the Confessions of a Clinton World Exile. And there's many bombshell allegations against Bill Clinton in this interview that deserve national headlines. This needs to be a big conversation all throughout this country, since of course this implicates Bill Clinton even more heavily with, of course, the government-connected pedo that, because of government protection for over 30 years, was able to abuse countless numbers of children. Yes, a convicted child abuser was allowed to run around for over 3 decades and do whatever he wanted to without any real consequences. And now, according to Doug Band, this former top aide to Bill Clinton did in fact visit Jeffrey Epstein's infamous pedo island, and according to Band, Bill Clinton couldn't stay away from Jeffrey Epstein, as Band describes how he was unable to push Epstein out of Clinton's orbit since they flew to Africa together in 2002. On board, of course, the Lolita Express with another troubled individual who is widely accused of abusing children, Kevin Spacey, whose accusers keep mysteriously dying. Yes, I mean, this reads like it's out of a movie. This legitimately happens. There are very serious, troubling, and concerning allegations against Kevin Spacey that I do believe implicate Kevin Spacey in some of the most egregious, immoral, illegal things a human being can do. Now, Band talks about how he was telling Clinton to end his relationship with Epstein, but Bill Clinton didn't listen. It's also important to note here that Bill Clinton ditched Secret Service protection over a dozen times to fly on the Lolita Express, which there's even documented flight records of. Another thing Band talked about was how Clinton was taking Epstein's money, and how in 2006 Epstein donated $25,000 to the Clinton Foundation, that Clinton also made more than 24 trips on Epstein's jet around this time, and that there's even more flights, according to Band, than there are on the official flight record. Now, Band says he declined to go with Clinton on this trip. Now, Band doesn't stop there. He also says Chelsea Clinton, the daughter of Bill Clinton, also had a relationship with Epstein, along with, of course, Ghislaine Maxwell, which was pictured at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. Band said specifically that there was a photo of Bill Clinton and Chelsea posing with Epstein and Maxwell at the King of Morocco's wedding. It's also important to note that Chelsea invited Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's pimp, to her wedding when already Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted child abuser. And according to Band, Jeffrey Epstein's pimp had access to yachts and nice homes, which, quote, Chelsea needed that. Band also accuses Chelsea of using Clinton Foundation money to pay for her wedding, which was confirmed because of WikiLeaks. This is, by the way, the picture of Epstein's pimp, Ghislaine Maxwell, even having front row aisle seats at the wedding, being prominently pictured here. You would think, someone, with the Clintons would say, hey, maybe having a pimp of a child trafficker isn't the best thing to have on the photo, in the photo. Like you would think they would be like, at least sit her in the back there. Nope, let's give her front row seats. Which, let's just be honest here, is pretty idiotic, especially when you put all the pieces together to what is going on. And it definitely seems like Band was the one trying to stop all of this madness from happening. And it definitely looks like he was unsuccessful to the point where now he is whistleblowing about the extensive connections that the Clintons had to this international child trafficker. Now, as you know, me and Jeff Berwick of the Dollar Vigilante actually crashed this Pedo Island in order to get an exclusive expose of what actually was happening in there, since, of course, the mainstream media failed to do their job, and it looks like they're continuing to fail their duties when it comes to this very imperative story that's only being picked up by Fox News and the New York Post. I'm sorry, but Bill Clinton visiting Pedo Island secretly is a major accusation that there deserves to be some serious, legitimate questioning about. Was our political leadership extorted by someone who bragged that he had politicians in his pocket and had dirt on everyone in Washington, D.C.? Again, when we look at the actions of Jeffrey Epstein, he was an extortionist along with the child trafficker that had many prominent individuals on his island that even, according to him, was blackmailing. So was Bill Clinton, was Hillary Clinton, was our political system blackmailed in any way by this individual? We deserve to know, but we're not even getting any answers. We're not even getting any questions. This is a huge scandal that, of course, should be widely talked about, especially with the fact that it was Clinton that denied ever visiting Epstein's island, which is highly improbable with, of course, his long, extensive relationship with Epstein, and also a lot of other witnesses on top of this latest allegation. It's also important to know that Clinton publicly lied about many things, and he's known for being a very good liar. But of course, many secrets mysteriously died along with Jeffrey Epstein, as still the majority of the public does not believe that he committed suicide, and they have absolutely no reason to believe that, especially with all the secrets that this man died with. Now, even if you don't take Doug Band's allegations seriously, it doesn't matter. There is still mountains of evidence and a large number of other accusers coming forward directly pointing their finger at the Clintons of lying about their very cozy, close relationship with this international blackmailer child trafficker, who arguably was a very evil human being, but yet was still promoted by the mainstream media. That's another thing we have to understand here that has significant larger implications, because the mainstream media was providing cover for Epstein that allowed him to continue his abuse. Vanity Fair, that's releasing this interview, previously even covered up other exposés that were supposed to expose him. They never did. Now, at least, they're writing these stories which are important for people to understand. And automatically, the Clintons should have reporters at their doors questioning them to their face about this very important issue. Again, this is the story of the decade, which there's still very important court cases surrounding. Recently, the U.S. government ruled that it wouldn't hold itself accountable for the sweetheart deal of a lifetime that Epstein got, the secret plea deal that allowed him to continue his abuse and never face any real prosecution after being caught red-handed abusing a large number of underage children. That case is still going on as one of the victims is still trying to overturn this Epstein plea agreement, which could actually lead to more charges for Epstein's co-conspirators, and I definitely think that is the right thing to do. And again, it's absolutely wild that Jeffrey Epstein's victims had to sue to even find out what happened with this secret plea deal that essentially let Jeffrey Epstein get away with his horrible crimes. In the meantime, the pimp, and some would say even the mastermind of this organization, Ghislaine Maxwell, is still behind bars in a jail that is allegedly having a conholio sickness outbreak. She's going to be back in court soon, arguing to gain bail, with, of course, her trial set to begin in June of next year. Will she get the conholio sickness? Well, we don't know, but we do know one thing, that there are concerted efforts by the establishment, by the mainstream media, by very powerful institutions and people that are trying to make sure that this story goes away. And the only thing stopping it from being eviscerated, forgotten, that the government aided and abetted in a blackmailed child trafficking operation for over 3 decades, the only thing stopping people from realizing that is, of course, you sharing this video and getting it out there. It is more important than ever that you do this. It is critical, especially with the treatment that we've been getting here on YouTube. But more importantly, once you realize on the backdrop that, hey, the government was in on this, was doing this, has their fingerprints on abusing children, why should you trust them with anything else? We still haven't gotten any legitimate answers, and we still have to push forward every single day, because again, this is the story of the decade that deserves a lot more attention than it's getting. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on WeAreChange.org.